Excellent. Alright. Hi there. I'm EnviroBoy. This is my channel. And, happy Monday, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, here we are. It's Monday. I know what day it is. Huh. It always takes a few seconds for me to get my bearings a little bit on a Monday. When I say a few seconds, I mean, like, it takes me until well into Monday for me to understand that, oh, it's the beginning of a week. Got an entire week of stuff going on here. But we're here, nonetheless. Nonetheless, we made it here. We made it through a weekend. I made it through a weekend. A little worse for the wear. Can you see? You can kind of see the little remnants of the black eye. It's kind of there. I don't know. You have to look for it. That's good. That's good. I kind of got hit a few times sparring this past weekend, so it was good. It's all part of the sport. Not like upset that it happened or anything like that. It's just part of how it goes sometimes. But I was a little nervous about how abused I would look getting on camera for this week's stream. But everything's largely okay. So that's good. Hold on a second. No, we're good. Okay. I had to double check. We've got potential rain all day today, so if it starts storming, I may have to jump up and close windows. But it's always nice to keep those windows open as long as possible when rain is coming, because then you can let the air movement, the circulation of the atmosphere and everything creep in through the windows, so that way you can have that freshness, that fresh fall air. It's early fall, barely fall, but we're kind of there. That fresh air come in and, you know, get rid of the need for AC, so I can save some money and get things nice and fresh in here. But there's always that like line you gotta dance, because as soon as it starts downpouring, they gotta go close it, because you don't want to, you know, do water damage to all the stuff next to the windows. So I'll have to try and pay attention to that. But you know what? That's all passive stuff, and it doesn't matter right now. Let's get ourselves here and start thinking about doing some writing. So we've been making some progress on our second dungeon for the campaign we've been working on. We've been working on a dungeon that is it's actually not really a dungeon. It's a journey through some like hills and like mountainous foothills for the players to have to navigate through. And so we've been working on that. We've got it mapped out. We know the basics of it, and at this point in time, we're basically just filling in the details, which is honestly kind of the easy part. Once you've kind of figured out what needs to be in any given room, just adding the paragraphs to describe it is kind of simple and straightforward, really. So to me, at this point in time, we're kind of on the fun, easy walk in the park portion of this dungeon, which who doesn't like a nice walk in the park? So let's keep working on that. Here's our map. Here's our map that we had been working on. We might need to edit some of these things now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, because a lot of these were kind of here that I threw in as just sort of like a sampler or a basic idea. And we might not, they might not have a place anymore, but we'll cover them when we get there. So 3, this was empty, and it had the puzzle. Let's see here. Hey, Prototype, how's it going? Glad to see you here. Let's see here. So I gotta remind myself what we were working on beforehand here. As you survey the plateau around you, notice it appears to have once been. Next part of the passage, unfortunately, has been blocked by the runs. Right. So there was we were gonna have the puzzle, loose fit of the term puzzle, but you know, we get creative. Where the puzzle was just that there was like a cave in here that was gonna make it tough to move past, and so players will need to figure out exactly how they want to overcome that challenge here. So let's zoom in. We gotta map this out. What was in room 6? Do we still need that like hidden path there? What did we put in room 6? Room 6 was going to have a trap and health items. That actually could... I don't know. I don't think we need it there. I'm gonna get rid of that because we can always put it back in if we need it. But I don't think we're gonna need it. So let's get our terrain tool here, and we just want to get our rocky terrain going here. Let's see. I gotta pay attention to my time just so I can trigger something for my day job here. But we'll get to that when the time comes. We still got a few minutes for that. When I say that, what I mean is I'll have to turn off an alarm that's on my work phone that's set to go off automatically. I just have to manage that, but I don't know, whatever. No one cares. No one cares, it's just me. Sebastian, you've always wanted to play D&D and don't know the rules or how to play. That is like the most normal thing in the world. There are so many people that fall into that category. And like the fact is most people who play D&D at one point in time qualified in that until they found their first game and were able to play D&D. So no, I wouldn't say that's bad at all. I say it's awesome that you're curious and intrigued about it, because hey, next opportunity you get, you know, you've got a potential new hobby to explore. The one recommendation I would give, and I don't know anything at all about your personal life or anything like that, Prototype, but I would say this is advice. This is sort of advice that I offer up to everyone. If you can, have your first ever game session be with real friends in real life, not with like finding strangers on like an online forum or something like that. I would avoid that if I were you, because when you're trying to find a group of people online, what happens is you find a group of people who you know nothing about, and so it's very hard to find and understand the sort of rhythm and nature of all of these people, and it can be pretty hard to find like a cohesive attitude and atmosphere with those people. It's not always a terrible thing, but it's like usually when you hear about like horror stories of games that just didn't go well with D&D, it starts off with a group of people who have never met and just sort of like respond to advertisements for an online game. So that would be my only encouragement, is for your first session, if you can find yourself like a, you know, maybe it's a community, maybe you go to like a gaming group in your community or something like that at a game shop. Maybe you can convince some of your friends to give it a shot with you or something like that. Whenever you do it, I would encourage you to try and find that atmosphere. Tends to be, like I say, it tends to be much more guaranteed to, well, not guaranteed, but it's much more likely that it'll be people that you know you get along with and will have fun hanging out with. Because there'll be people that you already know you jive with because you already know them in real life. So that's kind of my bit of advice. But other than that, just keep indulging and enjoy it. Like, it's just like, yeah. So yeah, that's the tough part. If you have friends if you don't have friends that are interested in playing, that can be the tough part. And like that's where I say, like, if you can find a gaming community or something, that's a good way to do it too. Because it gives you the opportunity to just know the people before you're committed to playing with them once a week or whatever it's gonna end up being, right? So that's that's the only bit of advice. But I mean, just in general though, D&D is, I mean, what is D&D? It's fantasy fiction, right? So it's like there's so many ways to indulge in the atmosphere and the general appreciation for what D&D offers. So hopefully you find a group though. Hopefully. All right, let's see here. So I'm putting in our cave in right here. So this is like the puzzle for them to solve. It's like, this is clearly like it's meant to be when players are there. It's clearly a pathway, but like the mountainous pass, like the sort of crevice between the rocks that they would go through has sort of caved in, making it pretty difficult to go by, and so their puzzle is to try and figure out how to get through there. And if I'm remembering here, yeah, so I want to put in a little note here. If players try to move the rocks, strength check, medium difficulty, and the medium difficulty is like what I've established up here based on just what level the players are going to be at. I always try to like I always like to predetermine it. And I always like, I might not necessarily explicitly say it to my players, but I always try to like make sure they know that like the difficulty of checks has been predetermined, so that way it doesn't feel like an arbitrary thing. Because I know I always feel bad when I need to ask players to check for something, but I've never really thought about what it would be. And so I just kind of make up a number that just like feels kind of like, yeah, that seems like a reasonable probability, and it just like, I don't know. It feels too convenient, particularly if players fail that check. If they're trying to do something and you say, give me a check, and they're kind of at one of those numbers that seems borderline and they fail it, it's like, it can feel kind of convenient. So I always try to have difficulty levels predetermined based on what the players' levels are. So that way they have an understanding and they can kind of start to get the sense of like, okay, from where we're at, this is roughly how difficult things are going to be for us from a gaming mechanic. It's a little meta game to do it that way, but I don't know. It's a good way to subvert hard feelings during a session, I found. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary. I think it depends on groups a lot of times, but just a move that I make. But that's what I mean when I say a strength check at medium difficulty. Let's see here. If fail, rocks fall on player who takes, we'll say, 1d6 bludgeoning damage. So just so that way it's like there's a bit of a punishment if they fail the puzzle. But yeah, we'll do that, and I think that's good. Sorry, I'm like distracted with my finger. I've got a bit of a hangnail, and I'm trying to not like tug at it right now. We'll take care of it later. It's the last thing that we need is for me to start bleeding all over camera. Alright, so there we go. Okay, so we figured that out. Now we just gotta kind of decorate the rest of this. There's nothing else going on here, right? Yeah, that's the empty room. Room in quotations. Just gotta add like some just some like little flavor stones here to make it seem kinda interesting to look at, you know. Just don't want things to look too bland around here. There we go. Just add, just like it's so completely irrelevant, a lot of that stuff, but you just put it there just to add some flavor and add some spice to the map, so that way it doesn't look so bleh. Hey, Wicked Smart Dragon, how's it going? Glad to see you here. So yeah, and I think that's all we really need for room 3. It's really simple. It's like the beauty, that's the good news about this map. Because it's all outdoors on a rocky mountain pass, like basically we just plop down a bunch of random ass rocks and call it good. It's like one of the easiest to decorate, you know. It's like you're building a house, you have to put thought into, oh, well, this room will be the dining room, and this one will be the study. It's like here, it's like, yeah, this is another area that has rocks. Yeah, it's just like the rest of it. There's just rocks everywhere. It's like the easiest thing to do. I love it. All right, so let's go on to room number 4. So this is the one where they need the boss key, and so now here's where, it gets kind of interesting to try and navigate all this stuff. So the boss key, again, very, very loose terminology, just as a way, I use all these terms, key, compass, map, you know, boss key, all that kind of stuff. I use that as like very loose terms as just a way to remind myself to add various degrees of complexity and interesting things within any given dungeon for players to for players to interact with, just so that way it's not always just a constant walk from room to room. Sometimes there will be doors that are locked. You know, it's like in this situation, I don't want them to just like walk from one platform to the next. I want there to be some depth to it. And so you got to get a little creative, but in this one what we are setting up is sort of a situation where it's like the way to get there, the boss key is, it's not even a necessary thing. Just like a regular key wouldn't necessarily be necessary in a dungeon, because players could, I always try to do it, if there's a key, there's a way to pick it. Or like if there's a lock, there's a way to pick it, you know? Like if there's a spell, there's a way to dispel it. There's always a way other than the prescribed, here's the thing that exists in the dungeon for them to use. There's other ways to go about it. But there's also always a tool in the dungeon that it's like, this will definitely get you there if you are searching, if you're being thorough and finding everything there is to find. And so what we've done in this one is I was going to set it up so that the boss key is to have both the standard keys, and that's the other thing I like to do. I like to have the boss key, if I can, build upon the standard keys, so that way it's almost like to have the full boss key, you have to get the regular keys and combine them in some way. And so the key in this situation is like grappling hooks to help climb difficult areas within this sort of like mountainous, hilly area. And then the boss key is to have just some crampons that make it easier for, you know, you to get purchased and to climb up using your feet as well. It's sort of the idea. 100% unnecessary. Definitely a bit of a stretch for the sake of adding in a game mechanic, but it does add interest to it. And the fun thing about that is those are keys that can be used elsewhere throughout an entire campaign. So it's really fun for players to find those types of things. So I think it's a good solution here. And to get to this last room, at least on this level, we want to sort of make it necessary for players to have that. And so I think this is actually perfect, because we have like basically built in 3 or 4 different ways for players to get over this area, because we've kind of created a situation where there was a cave-in blocking just like walking through the pass to get to the next area. And so they would either need to climb over it or remove all the rocks, or if they have like the boss key, then they can have a really easy time climbing over or climbing in any other direction. And we've kind of got this hidden pathway here that it's the same situation. It's like through here, maybe it's like this is a patch of wall that's particularly, you know, suited for climbing because there's lots of crevices or ledges or something on it, so that players can try and climb, and they've got the tools to make it easier. So they've got a couple opportunities to get up there, as well as a couple different approaches for how to overcome the difficulties we put in place. So I actually think this is just accidentally, and I say accidentally because I randomly assigned what stuff was in what room. I think it accidentally works out really well, and it'll feel like a well-designed dungeon, like a thoughtfully designed dungeon, when in reality I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So it's great. It's perfect. And as a DM, that's like the best case scenario, because you really never know what the fuck you're doing, but you really want your players to always feel like you know exactly what you're doing, because that's how you instill the fear of God in them, which is naturally what you want to do as a DM. You want to make them as uncomfortable as possible in terms of, are my characters going to die? That's the rule, because their job as players is to, in every way, shape, or form, make me disappointed in the ways that they break or make fun of the stuff that I create. So it just kind of levels off that dynamic and makes it perfect for everyone. So only like 50% sarcasm there. All right. Yeah, so it's gonna have an easy battle, and they also need the boss key. So let's go ahead and describe all of this stuff here. Easy battle. I'll just do that so that way I can take a quick glance and remember pretty quickly what is awaiting players when they walk in there. So all pathways to this next area are completely blocked by cliff walls or caved in passages. While there are plenty of ways to overcome any of these blockades, we'll call them. It's not really a proper use of blockade, but whatever. Overcome. It makes it sound flowery and interesting to players, and they're probably not going to be overanalyzing the grammar, so probably get away with it. Pathways to this next area completely blocked off by cliff walls or caved-in passages. While there are plenty of ways to overcome any of these blockades, if players have... whoops, there's my alarm here. Sorry about that. 1 second. 1 second. Juggling so many responsibilities all at once. Such as life. Okay. Alright, we're good. Okay, so if players have found the grappling, the garpling, that sounds dirty, doesn't it? Garpling. So you garpling. Showed your mom some garpling last night. Oh. I'm gonna stop saying that. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So I never advertised this as a family program. Players have found the grappling hooks and crampons. They can have advantage. Well, actually, we'll say they can automatically overcome any climbing-based efforts to reach this room. So you just do that. So it's like that way. If they've got the key, right, then that gives them a free pass. That's the reward for being thorough, right? You want to give that, and they may choose to be thorough, and they may not. It's entirely up to them and what they want to do and how they're playing. But that's kind of the beauty of it, right? I always say that's kind of the beauty of tabletop RPGs versus just playing Dragon Age or whatever, because with D&D, as the DM, you can be a computer that is perfectly capable and enthusiastically willing to modify things on the fly, and really make sure that it's, you know, the exact experience that players are wanting to achieve. You know, that's the fun part about it, is we can yes and our way through anything. So, but that includes also rewards if they do it the quote-unquote right way. So, reaching the area, however, let's see here. Upon reaching the area, however, they find that it is not empty. If it's going to be an easy battle, we need, how much XP was going to be set for the easy battles? 80 XP. And we're doing that with, we can do Bloodhawks. We could just give them 4 Bloodhawks and call it good, and they're just like pissed off at having their territory. So 4 Bloodhawks. Yeah, 4 Bloodhawks have made their nests here and are extremely protective of their egg. Oh, this will be fun. Egg clutches. So extremely protective of their egg clutches. So that way players can deal with the guilt of killing a bunch of unborn baby birds if they kill off the Bloodhawks when they attack. Just because fuck you. That's why. If you haven't picked up on it, I take great pleasure, and like, I'm only half joking with this. I take great pleasure in making my players upset and disappointed in the results of their own decisions. I don't know, like, realistically what it is I don't like my games to constantly be a good versus evil, right versus wrong. I don't want my games to always have like an obviously correct choice. I like my games because we're playing a game that is so freeform and can allow players to make so many decisions. I try to set up my games so that way there are, even if they're largely inconsequential mechanically to the game and how it's played, I like to make sure that my campaigns will have consequences for just about any decision that players make. I want them to feel like their decisions will have consequences, and sometimes they will be unforeseen negative consequences. Just because I find that that's what makes the game feel. It's what makes the game feel. What's the word I'm looking for? Immersive and real. Like, not real as in like, oh yeah, this could happen to me walking down the street, but real as in like, oh, this isn't just a convenient Disney fairy tale. Like, we're playing a complex game that has complex stuff going on and requires us to actually think rather than always brute force our way through. I like to make my games that way, and one of the best ways to do that, it sounds terrible, but one of the best ways to do that is to know your group well enough to think about all of the things that are going to just fuck with them while you're playing, and they can be like major or minor. But if you can think about all kinds of different ways to screw with them and try to anticipate what they'll do and find ways to still screw with them no matter how much they might try to subvert your efforts to do that, that's how you can kind of keep a complex game going and keep your players on their toes. Because I don't know, it makes the game more fun. Like, I don't know, if everything was always like, yep, you did everything right, then it takes away any sort of tension, and it takes away the pressure for players to actually think about and consider their decisions. So, when you hear me going on about trying to screw with my players, know that I'm not doing it with the explicit purpose of being an asshole. It's kind of a side product of it. But I'm doing it as a way to make sure that my players don't have a predictable, cliched experience. I want them to have a nuanced, interesting, complex experience. You know, if all you want is a simple experience, then by all means do what I'm doing during my video game streams and play a Paragon run of Mass Effect. Right? It's like it's everything is like fairy tale, good guy, and you know you'll make the right decisions. It's predictable. It's easy. It's perfectly good in its own right. But I just always feel like playing a tabletop RPG where you have a real person making the game. That's your opportunity to make a game that has more nuance than pre-scripted good versus bad options. So that's where I'm coming from. Just I don't know. It's probably not necessary, but it feels like I just felt compelled to express today. I'm not actually trying to upset my players and make them cry. It's just more so like I joke about that, but use that general trajectory to make sure that things are difficult for them and they can't always just have the easy way out. So anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. So 4 bloodhogs have made their nest here and are extremely protected with their egg clutches. And so there's going to be an item here. So, okay, here we go. Do item. Check this. Okay, I have an idea. Inside one of the nests being used for insulation is a I don't know, it's something that's simple, but it's like I want to have some sort of article of clothing that could offer up a benefit. So I almost want it to be like just like a pair of climbing trousers or something like that. So it's like a player could put them on and get advantage on climbing based things. I don't know. That seems a little too powerful. I don't know that I want it. It's like a level 2 thing. So it's a little too powerful. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, I want it to be something where it's like if they go that extra level and are willing to dismantle a nest intended for baby birds, then they can find something pretty cool. You know, like, because you gotta entice them. You don't want to make it too obvious that you shouldn't damage the survivability of these eggs, right? Like, I don't want it to be. I want it to be an actually difficult choice. I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, there's a crappy pair of smelly socks with holes in it. It's like, yeah, well, we'll leave those. Who wants that? But if it's like, oh dang, there's like a really good item here, and this would be really nice to have, but also we would have to doom a bunch of baby birds to do it, and I don't know if that's the type of karma that I want. You know, like that's the type of feeling I'm trying to get here. So I'm trying to think of what would be a good item. Like a scarf or something like that. Could be like a oh, it could be like a climbing harness. Like a climbing harness, and then that would... Oh, you know what you could do? You could make it a climbing harness. And so that if a player is using that while trying to do some sort of climbing check, like if they're wearing it, then they can avoid fall damage that comes from failing a climbing check or something like that. So like they have to decide which player gets it and when to use it and all that kind of stuff, but it's a substantial benefit that might encourage players to to dismantle a bird nest. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. It's a weird item, and it doesn't necessarily jive with everything, but like, I don't know. It's thematic, and I think it'd be funny. Like, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I just think it would be funny. All right. Inside one of the nests being used for insulation. Used for inside one of the. Let's see. Okay, so as part of the construction of one of the nests, you can see there is a climbing harness, a liming harness, a limbing harness. It's a harness that adds the limbs. Actually, I really want that. That'd be rad. A little harness you put on, and you have like a couple extra robot limbs or something. I want that. I'm gonna make that. It's a wondrous item. Alright, as part of the construction of one of the nests, you can see there is a climbing harness. This harness appears to be in good condition, and you suspect that if you wore it, along with using rope or a grappling hook, while climbing, you could avoid falling to your doom if you slip. To get it, you will have to completely dismantle the nest, which currently has 3 hawk eggs in it. Actually, you know what? I'm thinking about this. Knowing my players, I bet you there's no moral qualm at all here for them. Because if the hawks don't attack, then they'll be like, alright, well, we'll just miss out on the harness. That's okay. We've got other things that we can do, like Misty Step and whatnot, or Feather Fall. You know, we've got these options available to us that if we're quick enough can probably avoid too much fall damage. But then if they do kill the hawks and then realize there were a bunch of eggs being incubated, knowing my players, I bet you anything they would take the eggs and do one of 2 things. Either use them for a meal, which is harsh but environmental enough, I suppose, right? Waste not, want not. It's not like they'll just like slowly die. They can cook them up and at least get a meal out of them if they're gonna die anyway. So they'll either do that and feel no guilt, or what I actually think is even more likely, because my players will have already like left on this excursion with whatever rations they needed. What's even more likely is they will take the eggs and they will try to incubate them themselves, so that they can have a pack of attack hawks on like their ship or whatever. Like, knowing my players, if they were ever to do this, I can guarantee. I'm not gonna. I guess I shouldn't say guarantee. I shouldn't say guarantee. They surprised me, but I would bet. I would bet that they would be willing to do that, and not second guess the decision in any way, shape, or form. I would bet. I am confident that they would do something like that. Because my players are cheeky little assholes. But we're going to still put it there exactly like that so they can try and figure it out. Climbing, harness. And I'm just going to put this here and paste the item to a different place because I'll put that in like the magic / artifacts. Artifact section. I put items and stuff. I'll probably tuck it in there later. I haven't really been putting much stuff in all of these side tabs just for the sake of time on stream, mostly because what I'll do is I'll copy and paste things in there. If there's anything that goes in the atlas or in the campaign notes that needs to go in there, I'll just copy and paste it into the rest of the encyclopedia here. So it's like if there's something that's explicitly, excuse me, in an expanded encyclopedia section, then I'll do it on stream. But if I'm just copying and pasting things, I don't bother. So there's a lot of stuff that we've worked on that has ended up in there, but I'm just not going to do it on stream because no one wants to just sit there and watch me copy and paste everything. That's boring. Welcome back. Welcome back. Glad to see you. Glad to see a prototype. All right, so yeah, climbing harness. When worn while using rope to climb, players can avoid fall damage taken when failing a climbing check. So it's like kind of a specific item, but it's a good one, a reusable one that's good enough that I think it would encourage players to consider letting a bunch of baby birds die for the sake of pulling it out of a nest. Alright, so let's go ahead and decorate our area here. So this is the area here. I bet you anything it does not have a nest. Oh shit, it does have nests. Oh shit, and they've got ones with like a little bird in it. We just increase, all we gotta do is increase our scale for it. Hot damn. Hold on, let's do this 3 times the size. What does that do? That seems appropriate. That seems like an appropriate size, and we need to put 4 of them here. So we'll do like 1. Whoa, that one's really big. Hold on, we don't need that one to be that big. Let's try double the size then. Even that's kind of big. Let's try 1.5 times. 1.5 perhaps. Yeah, that's about the size we're looking for. 2, 3, and here, check it. We'll do 4, and then we'll put in some rocks and stuff like that, where they were put in like a little crevice or something. Yeah, see, check it. We can do stuff like that, and we'll just like tuck them in. Actually, we can kind of do that with all of them here. Let's put that there. And just kind of tuck all of these nests in little rock things there, so it looks reasonable that a bird would think about that as being like a kind of protective area. In fact, we could like just dot a whole bunch of different stones and stuff in here for exactly that purpose, like just to make it seem like a really obvious choice for birds to be putting their nests here. Like, why would there be a bunch of them? Well, it's like, oh, well, because this is clearly an excellent outcropping for things to, you know, for nests and stuff to be placed. Hey, kitty, what you up to? My cat's tail is probably gonna make a guest appearance. Oh no, she ducked under it. She ducked under the camera, and I just look like a crazy person. Thank you. Thank you for making me look psycho. Appreciate it. Oh, kitty. Let's see here. No, I just need to like throw in some more of these. More of like the smaller stones and stuff. Hold on, let's go. Oh, was it rock? Rock, that's what we need. Hi, kitty. Oh, are you gonna be in the lap? Okay. She wants the lap. That's allowable. This is acceptable. There's her little tail. I know, kitty. What a good kitty. I know, you're a sweetheart. I know it. Oh, you're gonna nestle up right in there. That's perfect. She's like, it's getting cold in the world now. I need to steal your body heat. Also, she still hasn't fully forgiven me for going on a trip a couple weeks ago and leaving her here alone to be babysat by some of my little nephews. So she's kind of refusing to let me out of her sight for a little while here. So we're just gonna dot this around here. Just like dot these things around. Which is like perfect because it'll actually kind of make this an interesting combat location for them to be at. So perfect. Oh, I'm sorry. Did my glass drip on you? My apologies. Oh wow, that was a lot of condensation. I'm sorry. No, I'm giving you a bath. My bad. Don't mind me just dropping water on my cat's face while she's trying to nap in my lap. A terrible, terrible owner. Horribly inattentive. Alright, there we go. Let's put a couple stones like that. There we go. That looks good. It's got that right balance of looking random but not actually being random. Because the human brain actually prefers patterns even when we think we want things random. Which is why you can't ever trust a human. You can't ever trust a human to come up with random numbers because they will inevitably, like, their randomness has a pattern. You can't trust our brains. Alright, so I think that's good. That's really all we need there, because we've got our challenging climb there. And we got all of our bird nests. Perfect. Oh, you know what? There's one thing I need to add here, though. I need to do 4 of the bloodhawks here. Here we go. Oh, no. 4 bloodhawks. Copy that. And paste that. Perfect. Alright, there we go. Alright, so, next room here, this is the safe room. Needs a key to get to it. That actually is kind of perfect, right? A room that's lockable is the safe room that players can easily, easily fortify to have like a long rest or something. That's what the safe rooms are meant to be. They're meant to be a room where players can sort of set up shop and be able to sort of rest for the night without having to worry about wandering monsters or whatever interrupting them. Holding the glass off to the side so it don't drip all over my cap. Alright, so yeah, so if we need a key on room 5 here. So I'm thinking this one will be a really good one. I'm thinking what we'll do is actually let's go to our terrain tool here. Oops, terrain tool is up here. And I'm going to actually cover this up, and we're gonna create ourselves our few pathways here that are going to be best traversed if they have like the grappling hook. Because if we set it up like that, if we make it so that they need the grappling hook, then they can, or rather than they'll have to use that to get there, but then it also makes sense for why that's like a fortifiable location, right? Because it'll be harder for other things to reach them up there. So that's actually kind of perfect. Yeah, so if we do that, I like that. And what we can do, hold on, let me just check something here. Room 9, medium battle. Room 9 is that's got the medium battle, and then, or yeah, room 9, that is that. And then what was room 6? Trap and health. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do, just to kind of make this a bit more interesting, is we're gonna make this one have a pathway there. So it's like they could bypass this whole segment, but if they want to get to 5, they could go back, right? Because then room 9 has token in it, and then room. Wait, hold on. And then room 8, so there's a key to find there. So they're going to find one of the grappling hooks there. And so if they want to use that immediately to try and get up there to find the map, then they can. Or if they choose to bypass, they can do that and perhaps never go to that area. It's up to them. And that just and that's perfect because that'll add a bit more complexity to the map, make it a bit more interesting, I think. I think that's great. I think that's excellent. Awesome. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that decision. That was a good choice. That was a great choice by me. It's like, oh god, I would hope he would feel that way. Can you imagine if I was like sitting here intentionally making bad decisions? Not that there aren't people who do that, and not that I've never been that person at least once or twice in my life. Sometimes we make the bad choice because it sounds like more fun or whatever. As long as my bad choice doesn't injure anyone else, it's my choice to make poorly if I so choose. All right, so room 5 is safe. So let's see here. I know how I want to describe this. Safe room again. Just put that there so that way I can quick glance at my notes and know. Okay, yeah, that's just a safe room. You know, because like when you underline it there, it draws your eyes to it. So if you're just trying to like quickly remind yourself in the middle of a session, like, oh shoot, what was going on here? You can just check, and it's right there. So safe room. Near the beginning of these foothills is an elevated plateau. If there was once an easy pathway to reach it, it appears to be gone now. Roughly 10 feet of stone surround the platform in all directions, requiring you to climb if you wish to reach it. That said, it seems as though this would be an easily defensible position if you wish to set up camp. And so it's like that's the clue. That's the clue in, right? The hook for players to be like, you know, hey, nudge nudge elbow, if you want a safe stay for a long rest, you could set up camp up there. You know, like that's the idea behind it. And that's why I'm willing to say it like so blatantly, because I want players to get the hint. Like, hey, there's something that you might need. It can be provided up there. And we'll actually say, and what we're, oh, this is actually perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. I love this, because what we'll do now is, because the map is up here, I kind of accidentally wrote this perfectly here. From up here, you have a good view of the foothills ahead of you. Though the climb eventually meets and surpasses the height of this platform, you can easily map out the next few locations. Actually, the next few targets, next few plateaus that would serve well as targets for your climb. And it's like, so it's like the map isn't actually a paper map necessarily that you give players. The map is like, hey, you can actually see everything that's up ahead, you know, but because it's towards the beginning, and we'll say this because it's towards the beginning, things are still kind of blurry. So it's like, yeah, but can you see everything? And then the room that has the compass in it, which is room 10. Let me see here. Just over here. So it's like if they take that easy route and get up there, that's another platform. And because it's a bit more passed along from like up there, you can kind of see a bit better, you know, because it has like it's more central to these rooms here. You can actually like see what awaits you in any of these areas or something like that. We can put it that way or something like that. So that way it's like, hey, that's the compass. So it's not physical items that the players find. It's more so just like, hey, this is a good place for you to gain information of your own volition if that's what you're trying to do. You know, and again, just offering players those like those verbal auditory cues for them to be like, you know, clue in like, oh, DM is saying you should do this, nudge, 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 do it. However, as it is close to the beginning of your climb, it is difficult to see exactly what, if anything, is awaiting you on any of these platforms. Boom, there we go. That's perfect. That's perfect. I dig it. I dig it. Alright, let's go ahead and decorate this just a little bit here. Not much that needs to be done to decorate this area. We'll just go ahead and go to our object tool as always and just put up some rocks. Right? That's all we really need to do here. Yeah, we can do like that. And then maybe one more like right. Let's grab a different one just to be, you know, interesting about it, and put that right there. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay. So that gives a little bit of texture there. I've obviously got a good view to be able to see everything. Bada bing, bada boom. Good to go. I'm gonna save this. I'm trying to get back in the habit of saving more often. I feel like I don't do that, and then I get to the end and I don't ever express it. But when I'm at the end of a stream, having done some serious work, I always kind of have that moment of panic, like, oh god, I've been working for 2 hours. I really hope the save goes well. It's really a bad way to go about it, but you know, we all make mistakes, and some of us struggle to learn from them. I do. I struggle to learn from them sometimes. I do my best, but all right, room number 6. Room number 6. Gonna have a little area right here, pretty easily accessible. Oh, this is gonna have the trap on it. You know what'd be fun? Oh, excuse me. You know what'd be fun is if the trap were like a crevasse of sorts, or like a hole that was kind of disguised by rocks, or just like hard for players to see, so if they're not paying attention, they can just walk into it. Just to give them like a perception check. And if they fail it, they fall down this crevasse and need to be rescued. It could be that they have to be rescued with like the rope and the grappling hook that the players are gonna get for keys. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Trap. On this plateau, there is a deep crevasse. There's a deep crevasse. I don't know why it amuses me to use the word crevasse rather than crevice. I don't know. Moving on. I apologize. Sometimes I just get them afternoon sleepies. I'm willing to bet there's a handful of you that can empathize with me on that one. Those afternoon sleepies. Siesta time. Alright, split 2, there's a deep crevasse that narrows quickly, so that you are unlikely to fall to your death, but may have an easy time getting stuck in if you are careless with your steps. Just mechanically, if oh my god, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not bored or sleepy. If players fall, no fall damage. We'll just say they get scraped up, but need to climb out. Climb out. It's a hard check to do that. Or be actually, yeah. Here we go. Say hard check, or be pulled out by companions. We'll put that one as a medium check. So it's like if you have people helping you out, that'll make it a bit easier. You're just trying to climb out on your own, then sucks to you. You gotta figure it out on your own. You gotta face the challenges of doing it all on your own. And that's that. So we can do that for the trap, and then we can do health. Oh, this is perfect. Oh my gosh, this is turning into actually a pretty smooth dungeon at the moment. The way things are kind of falling into place. This is turning into a much easier project than I thought it would be. Trying to make a compelling dungeon out of just this mountain pass traveling through this area. Excuse me, I apologize. So health, we'll say partway down the crevasse, there is a satchel that lies on a narrow ledge, half opened. You can see through the opening a collection of small bottles is tucked into the satchel. If players try to get it, set to medium challenge. And we'll just say whatever they want to do, just make it an easy challenge. Because I think something like that, they could try to be figuring out a couple ways to get at that. They could try to climb down. They could try to, send a grappling hook down and hook one of the straps for the satchel or whatever. There's a lot of options for them to do it. So we'll just say if they try to get it set to medium challenge, rather than doing an easy or a hard, let's have it set to medium. Inside are, and I always like to try and give like one potion per person. So we're gonna say 3 health. Well, actually, we'll just do 3x health potions. Give them 3 health potions, and I'm gonna give them 2 climbing potions. But I'm gonna look up and make sure. Climbing. Let's see if it'll give me a potion of climbing. Slippers of spider climbing. That'd be kind of cool. Look at that. They look like little Crocs. Oh my god. I don't know. Sorry. Distracted. A rope of climbing. It's kind of a redundant statement, isn't it? Whatever. Moving on. Take the potion you get with climbing speed equal to your walking speed for 1 hour. Anytime you have advantage on strength checks you make to climb. Potion is separated into brown, silver, and gray layers resembling bands of stone. Shaking the bottle fails to mix the colors. Alright, yeah, so we're going to do 2 potions of climbing so that players can try and, consider that when they're trying to do all of their weird, wacky stuff that they will inevitably try to do. 2x potion of climbing. Boom, there we go. Alright, easy enough. Easy enough. Let's decorate this room. Oh, boy. See, now I need to do a crevasse here. Do we have... Okay, nothing for hole. What about pit? No. Actually, now that I think about it, just saying a hole or a pit on there could be questionable. What kind of hole are we talking about? What kind of pit are we talking about? Are we talking about a butthole or an armpit? For pits and holes. Let's just type in hole. There we go. That's actually kind of good. And then we can just like put... Check it. We'll put like... Let's put some stones over top of it. Almost kind of want to like... See if I can discreetly... only cover up the rims here. No. It needs to be like realistically, and like I'm trying to figure out how I can design this to be realistically like difficult to find or difficult to notice while still being visible to the players. Oh, excuse me. And still being like in a position that it could make them fall, you know? Like that's the challenge here. Let me just check this again. Is that fit? How is fish underwater school the same as hole? How does that come up when I search for hole? Oh, hey, check this. Watch, look at that, look at that. Oh, wow, that actually blends really well. Let me zoom in and see. Yeah, that blends really well. That just makes it a bit bigger and more like an actual crevasse. That's not easy enough to just like walk around. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know what I want to do also? You know how I want to do this? Let's grab our stones, like our big ones. I kind of want the stones to block the crevasse. So that way it like ushers players to where I want them to go. Let's do that one right there. And that one right there. There we go. So it's like now they're kind of forced. They have to go across it if they want to continue on there. Although, do I want to... Oh, take it off, kitty. Okay. Catch you later, hon. Oh, I'm wondering, though. I wonder if we can position that better because they're ultimately going to be going that way. No, no, we'll leave it that way. We'll leave it that way because there's still the enticement of... Enticement? Enticing nature of them perhaps wanting to go up to these areas, right, if they didn't go up via 5. And then when they come back, they'll have to go over there and to continue on, right? So they'll have to navigate it a couple times, or they could choose to bypass it and just go around. Oh my god. Oh my god, man, my yawns are getting a little aggressive here. They ain't gonna take shit from no one right now. Yeah, let's put that right there, I guess. And then maybe one more, just like right there. Put that right over there, just to add some details there. Yeah, I think that works. I think that works. I think that looks alright. I dig it that way. Oh my gosh, my back. Oh! Excuse me. Alright. Yeah. Alright, I like that. I like that. Okay. Simple enough. We're making some good progress here. Just cruising right along. Oh, you know what I do want to add actually to that? A little satchel here. Well, let me make that smaller. Let's do 0.5 perhaps. Let's just put this like right there so it looks kind of like it's resting on a ledge there. Just so that way it's there and players are going to walk in and be like, what the hell is that? What am I looking at? Ah, so you've noticed. And then make them do like a perception check or something just to screw with them. So that way if they fail, it's like, ah, meta, you have a perfectly clear idea that there's something right there, but in game, you don't know. Just tantalizing, taunting them that way. It's actually kind of mean. I usually try to not do that type of stuff. Where it's like if they know it in real life, but their character doesn't know it. And so they're just kind of at this frustrating impasse of wanting to do something drastically different, but recognizing that if they're role-playing, then it's just not going to go any different. Again, I like to find ways to mess with my players if I can. It's fun. It adds enjoyment to it. I like doing it. My players are cool with it too. That's like, that really there is the key, is making sure that you're on the same wavelength as your players so that they don't feel targeted or picked on when I do that. At the very least, if they feel picked on, it's like they all feel picked on together. So, alright, yeah. That's good. That's real good. Okay, I am so sorry for all this yawning. Oh, man, I don't know what's come over me. I don't know why this is worse than usual. Like, I definitely get the afternoon sleepies quite often, but I feel like it's a little extra today compared to what I would normally be feeling. So, hey, Prince John, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a minute. Glad to see you here. I am presently fighting through my body's craving for a nice siesta. A nice little siesta would be so wonderful right now, but we got important shit to do. We're making a dungeon, damn it. Gotta keep priorities straight. Alright, so, let's see here. Yeah, man, I tell you. Life is an exhausting experience in many situations. And while I maintain that my life is a very good type of exhausting these days, I was reflecting on it last night, I'm actually in a very good phase of my life right now, and I dig it, and I'm all about it, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop to a certain degree. I am also exhausted because I'm very busy these days. Busy with good things that I enjoy, but oh my god, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like it's that type of situation where it's like, God, I love all the great things, but also slow down, man. Slow down. Yeah, right, seriously, don't jinx it. I try not to worry too much about jinxing good phases in life, because the fact is, like, when we're talking about the grand scope of things, life, it has hills. You go through ups and downs constantly. So, well, it's like I'm definitely all for, like, the low-key superstition of, like, you know, maybe I'll knock on my wooden desk here a little bit. Like, at the same time, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like I say, the other shoe's gonna drop one of these days. Like, I wouldn't be recognizing that I've got some good stuff going on in my life if it weren't for the fact that I've been in valleys historically. So it's like, you know, this is how life is. Get used to it. Oh, boy. Anyway, room 7 here. What room is this? Room 7. Over here. Room 7 over here. And what do we have going on in there? An easy battle and some money. That's easy enough. Alright. That's here. So we need to do another easy battle. So we need to have a battle that's got 80 experience on it. Let's bring our little cheat sheet down here so it's a bit easier to look at without having to scroll or anything. An easy battle. Do that. Oops. So what did I do? Easy battle. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. It matters. I need the format to look exactly right. Otherwise, I'm gonna notice it every time I go by there. And that's like the type of thing. That's the type of thing that my ridiculous brain will see, and it'll be like, like in the middle of trying to explain things and trying to DM, and I will 100% lose my train of thought. It's stupid. It's one of the stupidest things, but you know, after a while, you learn your own idiosyncrasies, and your best bet is to just work with it. Try and stack the odds in your favor for it to not ruin whatever you're working on. So let's see, an easy battle. What kind of battles do we already have here? I want to make sure I'm not making anything too repetitive here. We've got a lot of them with all kinds of young griffins already. And we've got one that has a bunch of bloodhawks. I suppose that means like we could mix up the bloodhawk and griffin presences within this plateau just to make it a bit more interesting. If we're looking for 80 experience, we could do 2 hawks and 3 griffins. Surprise attack from the crevices. I mean, that's kind of where they could go from. Yeah, with the Grix. Not the worst idea. We're more on the foothills. I don't know that the Grix would necessarily be down there. The other thing about it too is I try to keep a theme going with all the enemies, and so I've kind of got the enemies predetermined there. And I mostly do that to rein myself in. Because otherwise I'm definitely someone that'll be like, this is a cool enemy, let's throw this in there. And then it'll be like, why are there like 18 different monsters that are for some reason all living in harmony here? Makes no sense. So I try to keep a level of consistency with my combats and everything. So that way it's like players can kind of start to learn the rhythm of the dungeon a little bit and understand exactly what it is, and like, you know, it gives them the opportunity to like actually learn like would realistically happen, right? If like realistically you're facing the same type of enemy time and time again, eventually you're going to start to catch on and start to learn, right? That's like a real thing that characters would do. So give them the opportunity to do that. Give them the opportunity to try and experiment with different tactics that will suddenly, like, as they're going through the dungeon, make it easier and easier for them to handle the increasing difficulty of the combats and stuff. It's like, I don't know, like I make it a point of allowing players to reap the benefits of learning and improving as they go through both like within a dungeon and from dungeon to dungeon, right? Which is why it's like once they've leveled up and are at level 2, the first set of, like, you know, a level 2 dungeon will have 2 sets of rooms in it. That first set will have a lot of easier combats for them, so that way they can, you know, enjoy the fact that they've leveled up, and now there's easier combats that, like, a level ago might have been more difficult, but now it's like, oh, this is actually much easier for us to handle. And then the challenge goes on later, because, like, I say it all the time, but it's always, I feel like it's always worth repeating, because I feel like it's a problem that I actually feel is very pervasive in not just D&D games, but like video games and just games in general, where it's like leveling up and improving your character is almost rendered pointless by the fact that combats and dangers within a game constantly keep up with your player. So it's like, if leveling up is only there to make it so that the challenge can exist just with more different and challenging monsters, there's kind of that reward of facing other monsters, but it's like, I'm trying to think about the way to clearly explain this. It's like, if you never feel like there are parts of a game that are made easier by the improvements made to both your character and your approach to playing the game, if there's never anything that's made easier, then there's not really a point in leveling up or improving, right? So it's like, if there's never easier combats for your players, then it almost makes it pointless to level up, because they might as well just be at level 1, always facing that same level of challenge, right? It's like, yes, they'll get new spells and stuff, but if those new spells never have an opportunity to be the super powerful spells compared to what you were using before, right, then it's like, what was the point of leveling up, really? So it's like giving players that sense of like, here's some easy stuff, so you can really feel like, oh yes, I'm gaining my power, I'm gaining strength, I'm having an easier time in these areas that might have previously been difficult. And then offer up that further challenge of like, okay, but now, you know, there's further challenge, so you still want to keep growing. Like, if you offer them that duality almost, then it gives them the opportunity to appreciate where they've been, where they've come from, and then later on they can appreciate where they're going. You know, it's like, It just, I don't know, I feel like players really appreciate it when they can at least sometimes feel over-leveled and feel like a god. Kind of like when, if you are playing a video game, right, and you do have the opportunity to then go back to the beginning locations or whatever, suddenly, like, oh, you can gain that perspective of how much growth you've done, which you might be missing because the challenge is always keeping up with your improvement, right? Like, I always think about, honestly, I go back to the very first Pokemon that I ever played, right? Pokemon Red. That was the first one I ever played, but Red and Blue. And when you loop around the map, right, and are heading towards Giovanni and then the Elite Four, you loop back around to the beginning areas where suddenly you're walking around with like level 60 Pokemon facing off against those weak-ass motherfucking level 2 Rattatas, and suddenly you can, like, that gives you that perspective to appreciate, like, holy crap, I've come a long way in this game. I've adventured a lot. And so I like to try and build those things into my games without requiring that players actively choose to go to dungeons that they're already finished with. So, you like that analogy. Good. I'm glad it's resonating. I'm glad that my point is coming across, right? Like, I like to offer that to my players, and one of the things that's challenging with D&D is players always want to move forward. Like, it doesn't, a tabletop RPG doesn't really have the same ability to have players just arbitrarily go back to a past dungeon just for the sake of, like, leveling up or something, right? Because there's so much story involved, players constantly want to be moving forward with that story. So by building in those easier segments into more advanced dungeons, by offering that to them as they're going, it gives them that sense without requiring that they just pointlessly go back and redo something they've already done, right? Because even with the Pokemon, while you do go back and face something you've already done, it's in the process of moving forward, right? You kind of are just walking past that area to then get to, you know, the gym or the Elite Four or whatever, right? So it's like just kind of trying to find a way to offer that in there. And that's, I don't know, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I don't really know exactly why I got on that much of a tangent about it, but I don't know. I think it's something that's worth explaining, because I think it's something that can easily get overlooked, right? You're trying to, as a DM, you're trying to make a dungeon, and you're trying to think about what level your players are at, and you're constantly trying to think about, okay, what's the challenge for where they're at right here? But it's okay to sometimes think about, what would the challenge have been a level or two ago? Let's give them that, let them have some fun before we then resume trying to lop all their heads off every single battle. You know, give them the chance to really feel like the heroes. Give them the chance to feel like they have progressed in their journey and grown. Give them the chance to enjoy that before taking them back down a few pegs and showing them that you're God, that I am God, I am the DM, I am their God, and they must respect the power that I have. Sorry, I got a little into my power trip there, but nah, you understand what the fuck I'm saying. So, yeah, so an easy battle here, right? You know, again, oh, I remember how I got there. Using only this set of 4 enemies. It's even like a mini version of that within there, where it's like they can grow and recognize that, okay, yes, the challenges, the battles are getting more difficult because there's more of them, but you know these enemies. You understand what they're weak to, so you can still, despite there being more of them, despite, you know, facing bigger versions of the Griffin or whatever, like, you understand these enemies. You are learning about these enemies, and you can progress and not feel like you're always fighting off your heels. That's what the point was. You know, giving players the chance to grow and learn, you know, both in a grand and a micro scale. I don't know. That's just, it's not even a necessary thing. You don't even really have to do that to have a good D&D game. I just find that if you include those things, it can help ensure that you're making a good D&D game. Because it'll really feel immersive, and it'll make players feel accomplished and capable. And, you know, that's the yin to the yang of me wanting to actively chop down my players at the ankles, is also giving them the opportunity to build back up, right? I giveth and I taketh away. I am a generous God. Anyway, what the fuck did this room look? Okay, yeah, it's the one right before there. What the fuck was I working on? Let's see here. This plateau is a very busy, very busty. Oh, it's a very busty one. Busy. Why can't I spell busy? What is wrong with me? This plateau is a very busy one, with griffins and hawks all going about their typical business. Though not explicitly friends, the griffins and oops, there's my alarm. Sorry. Just paying attention to other things and stuff that I have to be doing at any given time. So many things, personal business. Okay, anyway. You know, it would probably be less disruptive to the stream if I didn't call attention to it and just quietly turned off the alarm and took care of things without pointing it out. It's like putting enter at your own peril or don't mess with my crap labels on an otherwise unassuming door that people would otherwise not pay attention to, but as soon as you put like a big blaring keep out sign or sticker on your lock or something, everyone's like, well, fuck you, I want to pay attention to that. It's like no one would have ever noticed until you called attention to it. And now I've wasted 3 minutes on this stuff, and it's starting to become obvious that really I'm just trying to pad the time of my stream so that way I can have more content for longer and milk more nothing out of you guys because I do this for free. Anywho, all of that nonsense aside, though not explicitly friends, the griffins and hawks can agree. That's right. Tell if you don't. That's right. I appreciate your willingness to play along. That's really what my entire life is predicated on. People playing along with my absurdity, with my absurd life that I am living by my own design. Let's see here. Though not explicitly friends, the griffins and hawks can both agree that they are not fans of this intrusion and immediately look at you and immediately turn their attention to you. Okay, I'm not even gonna try and unravel that knot of a misspelling. Immediately turn their attention to you, ready to defend their own territory. I like describing all of these monsters as just defending their territory, just to add that layer of guilt onto my players. It's like, wow, you just killed a bunch of innocent animals that were defending their homes. Way to go. Alright, so we're going to do 2 of the hawks, because we need 80 experience for an easy combat here. So 2, oops. 2 bloodhawks and 3 of the tiny young griffins, which I like to imagine because the griffins, tiny griffins, are like only relatively tiny. Like I imagine them as being like little wiener dog sized griffins that are just romping around, possibly making the same yappy barking noises. I don't know what a griffin noise would be. I guess it'd be more of an eagle screech, but I mean, who the fuck would know? It's a griffin. They don't actually exist. I can make them make whatever noise I want. I can say that when they open their mouths, it sounds like a freaking popped balloon. Just like that's the noise they make. That weird high-pitched fart noise. How'd that one sound over the microphone? God, now you're gonna start thinking that I hate you guys as much as I hate my players. All right. Easy battle and money. So if they're willing to kill a bunch of things, they can at least get some money for it, which just kind of makes it worse. But you know, hang among the rocks and bird nest. Let me see here. Let me see something. Okay, yeah, that's what we need to There we go. All right. Let's see here. Lying among the rocks and bird nests are actually, let's say, even better. Okay, lying among the couple of birds nests scattered around this plateau are a few collections, are a few pouches that appear to hold various amounts of money and jewels. Yeah, and we'll just leave it like that, and we'll just like put down the little money hoard that they're able to find. So let's see here. To go with this, my usual treasure hoard thing that I've been using has been it's been errored out for a long time. So I'm thinking something happened, kind of like what was been happening with Cabal Fight Club, where whoever made it just decided to stop maintaining it. So I've been going back to Donjon, as I was. It's not really how it should be pronounced, as dungeon, but I always call it Donjon. It's spelled funny. How am I supposed to say? So I do that, and then we go to 5e, and we should be able to find, where is it? Random treasure generator. We just go to this. Challenge rating. Was it? Yeah, it is the treasure generator. And then we go to treasure hoard. You can do something like this, and you just set the challenge rating to about what you want. And so for this one, because and it's just like, it's kind of hard because the other one it was easier to do it based on player level, and now because it's challenge rating, you kind of have to think about like what the monster challenge rating is, but you kind of have to like think about it from the standpoint of like an entire dungeon, not just like an individual monster or whatever, and it makes it kind of tricky to think about. So what I've been kind of doing is just taking. So we'll look at this. The hardest enemy that they'll encounter is a 50 XP, which will be like a CR of, what is that, 1/4? Because 10 is 0, 25 would be 1/8, and 50 should be 1/4. And so like just take 1/4 because it's the most difficult enemy they'll find within this set of rooms, and then within the last one, because the boss is like a CR3, then they can get like a CR3 treasure hoard in that area. And then I'll just like take some stuff off there if I feel like it's too much money, but you know, it's kind of arbitrary because money's only valuable when they actually go into town, and that's kind of infrequent. So it's not like game breaking. You're just basically providing them with enough stuff so that they can have a nice shopping spree when the time comes. And the other thing to remember too is you're always splitting it among 5 players. So it's worse to not give them enough money than it is to give them too much money, I personally feel. Because if you give them too much money and you're worried about them having too much stuff, like too much, if you're worried about like, oh crap, I give them this money and they can afford all of these like really advanced magical items at level 2, but just don't stock them at the stores. Just say the store that you can't find a shop that has it in stock. You're gonna have to wait a while for them to order or make it, and then they'll go off an adventure, and then by the time it's ready, they'll come back and it'll be a more appropriate level. It's that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy to control things when you're God. Just saying. But anyway, so the highest challenge rating they'll find on this particular set is going to be a challenge rating of about 1/4. So just a random horde. So yeah, this seems like a pretty decent treasure hoard. What I'll probably do is take away the spell scrolls and the potions and stuff, and only leave the monetary things, because I have other items and stuff existing elsewhere. So that's probably what I'll do for this one. But I don't know, it might be kind of fun to leave the spell scroll. The potion of healing, I'll probably definitely take those out, because I have elsewhere in this a good collection of potions for them to find. So I don't want to flood them with too many because that'll offset the balance a little bit. But we can definitely do. God, why even bother with this stuff for treasure hoard? Anyway, so 100, so 170, 198 gold pieces for them. So let's just do that. Yeah, that's actually, you know, in like thinking about that amount, we'll definitely leave the spell scroll there because 198 is not a lot of gold for 5 players to split around. So, that's good. So 200, we're just gonna make it easy. 200 gold pieces. So 200 gold around there. That's good. And then what was it? We're just gonna make it 450 GP jewels or gems. 4x 50 GP gems if players want. So depending on how you play your game, it may or may not matter specifically what the gems are, particularly for like spell components and things like that. You know, it might matter what they specifically are. I, for the sake of ease, will give my players the value of the gem and usually just like call it good there for the sake of ease. Because my players aren't super into that level of resource management, but they do like there to be an aspect. So the balance we kind of find is like, okay, yeah, you need gems worth this much. You know, you need this much money's worth of gems to do this, that, or the other thing, right? And so it's like you provide them the information. Okay, so there's 450 gold valued gems. You can find those, and then they'll use those. They can mark those down as they want, or they can sell them for the cash. It's whatever. So that's the balance there. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your own treasure hoards. You might want to do more detail than what I do. But that's, I mean, it's really up to each table and how it's structured. So let's see here. Okay, so I am going to put that spell scroll in there just because, you know what, it's fun. Why not? So alarm, spell scroll. And screw it, we'll give them the potions too. We'll be nice. We'll be nice on this. This is like their one treasure hoard. No. I'm not backing down. I'm not backing down. We already gave them plenty of potions up there. Damn it. I'm sticking to my guns. That's that. All right. So let's go ahead and decorate this one. So we need to just go ahead and put some rocks and shiz around here. Oh, we need to put our scale back to 1 here. So just put some rocks around. Doesn't really matter. We're just trying to make things look kind of interesting and, I don't know, appealing to the eye holes. Actually, you know, here, check this. Just like that. There we go. Beautiful. We do need to. It would make sense for there to be to be 2 bird nests here. So check it. We'll put one like right tucked in there and one right tucked in there. There's our bird nests. A bit smaller than the ones up there, but that's fine. It's whatever. It just makes it look like there's depth. It makes it look like there's depth. Hey, Asterial, how's it going? Aster, how's it going? Good to see you here. I'm doing all right. It is afternoon here, but it's a reasonable thing to confuse because time is kind of meaningless on the internet. So, no worries there. No worries there. Glad to see you here. Do that right there, maybe. I don't know. Oh, check this out. We can make an artificial pathway by putting some rocks here. So it's like players can try and like sneak around if they want to. Look at that. That gives them like places to hide. Adds a bit of dynamic nature to this like combat filled area there. And that's kind of good enough. Although I do want to. Hold on. Let's bring these back down to our 1/2 scale here. Started first edition D&D. Oh damn, yeah, that's legacy stuff right there. That's awesome. I have a collection, a small and not like complete one, but I do have a collection of like like garage sale discovered advanced D&D booklets and stuff that are a lot of fun to look through and take inspiration from. Oh, what did your players? Okay, yeah, I want to hear the story. I love hearing stories about what players do to thank their DMs, because I feel like it's a very fortunate thing when you have a group that is like truly appreciative. I feel like most groups, at least when you're playing with friends, are appreciative to a degree, but like sometimes it's really nice to have a group that like goes the extra mile. I had a group that when our game, it was my grad school group, and when our game inevitably came to an end, we had to because everyone was graduating and a whole bunch of people had jobs all over, so we called it a game, and we finished our campaign, and they got me a really awesome big package because they knew I like to bake. So they got me like this package that had all of it had like a baking cookbook with like Game of Thrones themed foods and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of stuff so that I could try like making them. It was super fun. It was super cool. All right, what do you got? And one of those. Oh shoot, scroll. One of those long laundry tables, wide enough or long enough. So I got together, made a shell to fit over top of it. Nice. Decorated, include D&D logo in the middle. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like a nice table topper. That's sweet. I actually have one of those. My dad and I built. That goes on my little, because I got this tiny round dining table. It's all scratched to hell. It's garbage. You wouldn't even want to buy it at a. It's because it's not a nice antique. It's just a really cheap table that I got for my first apartment, and I still have because I'm broke. But my dad and I, we made a topper that goes over it that like expands it, and it's got like a frame that goes around and everything, and it's got like little pockets and stuff for people to put their dice, and like little cup holders to put their drinks and stuff, as well as like a central big playing table. So that stuff is awesome. That's really awesome that your players put that together for you, because I had to build my own. My players did not do that for me. If my players did that for me, I would probably cry because I would be so touched. That's an awesome gift, and it sounds like you have some rad players. That is super awesome. I'm like genuinely really happy for you. That's awesome. That's really awesome. Let's see here. What time is it? Okay, we got enough time for one more room. We got enough time for one more room before I gotta call it a stream here. Yeah, I believe it would leave you speechless. Like, for people to coordinate and get that, yeah, right, seriously, they would definitely get a kick out of it. To render the DM speechless, our one job is to not stop talking and playing throughout the game. That's why I'm able to do this stream, because I'm so used to just blabbering on incessantly. It's got to be. No, that's really awesome. That's really awesome. And I am very happy for you. I feel like the group of players that I DM for these days are probably I don't know. See, this is the thing. I know that they are that appreciative. They always do a very good job of making me feel very appreciated as a DM. They are not nearly handy enough or coordinated enough to ever try and get something like a small construction project like that taken care of. That is not their wheelhouse. They are wonderful people, wonderful players, but building, one or two of them are kind of like house repair savvy, but not really. Oh shit, yeah, if you've got mechanics and plumbers in your groups, then yeah. Yeah, I have, in my group, I have, I'm trying to remember all their professions. We've got a musician, a teacher, we've got a musician, a teacher, a librarian, and I guess one of them, he's kind of a handyman. He's like a factory worker. He'd probably be able to do some handyman type stuff. But Nice, nice. Getting up to 7th level. That's awesome. That's awesome that they stuck with it. That's my current group right now. None of them had ever played, but they really wanted to. They wanted to try playing, and it was one of those things where it's like I was a friend of a friend, and they knew that I did a lot of DMing for D&D, so they approached me and said, "Hey, we've got a group of friends that we'd want to play. We heard from so and so that you do D&D. Would you be willing to DM a group?" And at the time, I had just moved to the city that they were all living in. And it was just kind of pure luck that I had like friend of a friend situation, and me, being desperate to meet people in a brand new city, was like, yeah, I'll play D&D. Wow, that's some good luck right there. And so we've been playing for about a year now at this point. So it's been good times. It's been good times. They're all psychos, and they crack me up. But it's like there's something really fun about playing with people who have never played D&D because they don't know how it's supposed to be played. So as long as they're trying to learn and willing to, go work with what the rules are supposed to be, it's really fun because they don't fall into the standard tropes and they don't try to recreate this, that, or the other type of D&D experience. They're just buds that are like fucking around and having fun. And that's like the best way to have a group, honestly. So I've been super into it. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm definitely happy to hear stories of DMs having awesome groups of awesome people. Because I feel like there's so much emphasis these days on like sharing horror stories and stuff. I mean, there's like subreddits dedicated to that. I think it's super fun to hear stories about like what goes well. Because it's that sort of like, it's that negativity bias. It's like the same as when you read Yelp reviews, right? And it's like only the people that have had horrible experiences and want to vent about it are the ones who share their stories, while the rest of us that are having rad, awesome stories are just content to sit back and enjoy those and not really share them. So I feel like that almost kind of gives like a bad rap to like D&D in a certain way, because people hear all these horror stories and like, man, it sounds like a whole bunch of psychopaths play this game. And it's like, while that's true, most of us are willing to set that aside and have a fun time for our games. So, I kid. All right, let's see here. Let's try and get one more room done. I've got about 10 minutes left before I gotta end this stream here. But let's see if we can design a battle and fill up one more room here. So we've got an easy battle here again. Let's see here. Let's just check out the room. What room is this? Oh, this is the starting room. You know what I kind of want to do for this one? Have we done it yet? Hold on. Have we done what easy battles have we done? We've done 4 Bloodhawks, and we've done a mix of them. I just want to have a big old pile of these tiny young griffins there. So it's like, yeah, they're like these tiny griffins, and it's like, something about the tiny griffins almost makes me feel like it'd be like getting attacked by puppies, where it's like, yeah, if you just laid there and took it, then yeah, they could eventually kill you. But if you're just like, if you don't do anything, or like if you try to fight them, then it would actually be kind of an easy thing to take care of. But then also comes in the issue of, do you want to fight them back? They're little tiny griffins. So let's see here. As you approach the beginning, because this is room number 8, numbered pretty arbitrarily, just going across here, right? Like you would read a book. Room number 8 here just happens to be where the whole dungeon begins. So let's hear. So as you approach actually, let's say the base of the foothills, you are faced with a large group of tiny griffins that appear to all be playing with each other. As you approach, they notice you and take defensive positions, not knowing what to make of the strange bipedal creatures approaching them. We'll just do it that way, because it will give the players, always in many scenarios, I try to give players the opportunity to avoid a battle if they want to. And in this situation, it's kind of like, well, do you go and try to bite up a bunch of or beat up, and bite up. That would be weird. That's a weird approach. They could do that. It would do damage. Do you go beat up a bunch of little griffin puppies, or do you leave them alone, or do you ignore them? But yeah, we'll do 8 of the 10 young griffins. I mean, we could make it so there's not 8 of them, because we only need to do 80 experience. We could do 1 of the young griffins and then 2 of the or 3 of the tinier ones. But I actually kind of like the idea of there just being a whole mess of them all playing with each other. Check this out. Okay, a couple of the griffins had been playing tug o' war with a length of rope that now lies forgotten on the ground. When you look closely at it, you can see this is actually a grappling hook that seems to have fallen off of a pack at some point. It seems like this could come in handy as you look at the cliffs and mountains. Wow, I really kind of mucked this up. Okay. At the cliffs and mountains. There we go. Good lord. Let's see. At the cliffs and mountains ahead of you. Boom. And so that's like the key, right? Remember, those are our keys. Just doing the grappling hooks and the boss key being the crampons and blah, 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 blah. So there we go. We'll do that. And now let's just quickly throw in some decorations here. We're going to throw in this to be our 1. Right? And let's just throw in a few. Like that. We can do that, kind of hide that pathway there. One of those there. Another one right there. That's what I wanted. I want to put that over. And we can put in some like rocks and stuff there. Just like that. Another couple rocks kind of sit in the center there or something. And then let's put the rope just like lying right there, like the little griffins have been chewing on it and playing with it, and there it is. There's left. That's our grappling hook for them to find. So there we go. Alrighty. Alright. Look at that. That is looking like a pretty full, complex, interesting map. We got a couple more rooms left on this set of rooms, and then what do we get to do? Move on to the second set, right? Because we've got the lower level and then the upper level of this dungeon. You know, it's all a process. You go through it little bit by bit, but that's why it's fun to add those little challenges of trying to figure out puzzles and traps and stuff like that, because even though it's all part of the same environment, it helps keep things fresh and interesting, so that it doesn't all feel just like monotonous. Go to room, kill monsters, collect reward, go to next room, right? That's why you add these little alternate paths and stuff. You just make it complex and interesting and challenging for players to deal with. So that's the way to do it. And we are making progress on this. We're making really good progress. I really like how that looks. I gotta save this. Scolded myself earlier this stream for not saving frequently enough, and then what did I proceed to do? Not save throughout the entire stream. So luckily nothing crashed and we're good to go. But yeah, looking at the time, it's time that I call it a writing stream. Take my usual 15-minute break, and then I'll be back to be doing some video gaming. We're working on our Mass Effect 3 playthrough right now. Having a lot of fun with that. God, I love Mass Effect. So if you want to stick around for that, that's coming up. If not, I totally understand. This was a D&D thing, and if D&D is your jam, then there's a whole lot of other really good streamers that are on right now. You can go check out. So that's what I got going on coming up here. As far as other streams the rest of this week goes, I will be, as far as I know, as of right now, again, everything I say is always with the caveat that it might change last minute. Just the nature of my job and my life is things tend to change on short notice. So it could change, but as of right now, I will be back on to stream tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday this week. So be looking forward to that. Feel free to stop on by at any time for more writing. That's going on this week. If you want more communication, if you're interested in what I'm doing, if you want to share your own homebrew stuff, or you just want to chat with people who like my streams and stuff, I do have my Discord. Anyone is perfectly welcome to join that. You just gotta get signed up and verify, and we'll get you going on that. I guess the last plug is I do have my YouTube channel that has pretty much all of my VODs going back to when I first started streaming very early this year. So, if you want to check that out, you can. I don't blame you if you don't, because my YouTube channel is chaotic and I do not have time to manage it properly. So it's just a big old clusterfuck of videos. I should at least be doing better at keeping them into categories, but we pick our battles. But it is there as a resource if that's something you're interested in. If you want to see the streams but it's hard to drop by live, just pick any one of them from the YouTube channel. I promise you it's all the same, just me rambling and doing stuff. Having a good time doing it. But those are my plugs. Those are my announcements. Other than that, I'm going to take my break and we'll be back in 15 minutes. So I will either see you in 15 minutes or I'll see you whenever the next time you stop by is. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm so glad people stopped by. Appreciate the conversation. Appreciate the good time. You guys are awesome people. Make it a really fun thing to stream. And, I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. So take care of yourselves, and I will be back on in 15, 20 minutes. And I will see you then. So, see you soon.